Hi, welcome you all to this special class on Unacademy on the YouTube platform. Today we will continue with our discussion of ethics paper, which we started day before yesterday. Today is the third class. So before starting our class, as usual, let us look at what are the courses that are offered on Unacademy platform. What are the courses that are offered on Unacademy platform? So, as you know, an academy has come out with this introductory offer for those who are for those who are preparing for this 2023 mains examination, 2023 UPSC CSE examination. There is 18-month combo for GS and optional, and you'll get 10% additional discount. The original price is 78,999, and you'll be getting it for 63,898, 15,000 rupees. You can save. This offer is valid only till tomorrow, 19th. So you can take admission. And what are the other benefits that you'll be getting? You'll be getting additional books. You'll also be getting test series, and the batches will be starting from 19th. The batches are starting from 19th. Then these are all the top rankers on Unacademy platform from 2nd to 9th to 10th to 13th, 14th, 16th, and 20th. These are all the top rankers on Unacademy platform for this year. Then proceeding further, the batches are starting from 19th. You can see that Mission 2022, you have Lecture 2022, Expedition 2022, Mission 2023. Then Lecture 2023, Expedition 2023. These are all the batches. And you will be getting a set of 20 books, GS books, for 1 year and above GS and combo subscription. The books are available in both Hindi and English medium. Then you have these optional courses that are launched in Unacademy platform this month, including PSAR, economics, public administration, history, sociology, geography, philosophy, and other optionals. What are the things that you can get with Unacademy? You have live mentoring, study planner and means question and answer practice, open house with educators, get instant loans, no processing fee, flexible tenure and minimal paperwork. And it was over on 16 January. This CSE comeback, right? So these are all the courses that are offered on Unacademy platform. Let us come back and look at what we are discussing. So we are looking at this question, refugees question that we have seen yesterday. Now let us go to the next question. Should impartial and being non-partisan be considered as indispensable qualities to make a successful civil servant? Discuss with illustrations. Please remember this question was repeated by UPSC in the previous examination so many times. In ethics paper, unfortunately, what you can see is that UPSC is repeating most of the questions. So it is better what you can do is just go through the previous year question papers, because they are repeating only most of those questions only. This question was repeated. The question says that should impartiality and non-partisanship should be considered as indispensable qualities to make a successful civil servant. Yes, that is what we say. That is what exactly we say. We say that they should be considered indispensable. Why? Why should they be impartial? What is this impartiality, and what happens with the absence of impartiality? Why should they be non-partisan? What is this non-partisan, and why? What happens with civil servants being non-partisan? That is what we have to look at. Why should they be impartial? India has a very diverse society with different religions, castes, regions, languages, ethnicities, races, so on and so forth. All of them are there. And what is common is that in all these things, if the civil servants are not impartial, they will be partial towards one section of society, their own caste, their own religion, their own creed, their own race, so on and so forth. They can implement strictly the rule of law only when they are completely impartial. Give the example here. Since independence, as we keep on saying, since independence, we have seen so many communal violence incidents. We have seen so many of those communal violence incidents. And what is common to all those communal violence incidents? It is the highly partial behavior of our the police forces. And all those incidents have taken place only for one simple reason, because of the highly partial behavior of our police forces. And that is where the problem is. Simply, they cannot implement rule of law unless and until they are completely impartial. Rule of law can be implemented only when they are highly impartial. They should not be partial towards any section of society. They should not be partial towards either Hindus or Muslims or Christians or anyone else. And the basic problem with India is that we have so much of what is called constitutional formalism. These are all the terms that you have to write while answering the questions. We have so much of constitutional formalism. The difference between what is there in the constitution as ideal and what is there in reality. Why we have so much of constitutional formalism? Those who are responsible for implementing the ideals of the constitution are highly partial and biased in their functioning, especially in case of bureaucracy. And that is the reason why we don't have what we call constitutionalism. And that is the reason why we say that this impartiality is what we call indispensable for a successful civil servant. Second one is non-partisan. What is this non-partisan? Why should civil servants be not partisan in their behavior? We say, a parliamentary democracy wherein political executive is temporary in nature. We have a change of government after every 5 years. We always have a change of government after every 5 years, right? Whereas the bureaucrats, we say, are permanent. Once you get into services, you will be there for the next 35 years. That means in those 35 years, on an average, if you take 5 years for a government, you will be looking at minimum 7 governments with different political ideologies, with radically different objectives and goals. And what is expected of civil servant is he must provide unbiased, rational, meritorious suggestions to political executive in policy formulation. This is what we say the essence of parliamentary democracy. Civil servant must use his skills, knowledge, and intelligence to provide these kind of suggestions to political executive. They can do so only when they are completely non-partisan. There should not be politicization of civil services. That is what we say. They must be completely non-partisan in their behavior. They should, as we study in public administration also, as I keep on saying, you need a very good knowledge of public administration to answer these kind of questions. As we study in public administration also, what we say here is that they should be committed to the ideals of the constitution, not to the ideology of ruling political party, either at the central level or at the state level. On the other hand, if you look at it, absence of non-partisanship can result in politicization of civil services. Give examples. In 1975, when the then Prime Minister had given a call for committed bureaucracy. When the then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi had given a call for committed bureaucracy, it only resulted in politicization of civil services. It only resulted in what is called politicization of civil services, wherein civil servants have forgotten about non-partisanship and they had become tools of the central government. By 1990s, the disease has spread to state level also. You can see there are so many instances even now also, wherein the DGPs and chief secretaries acting more like the representatives of ruling political party at the state than the custodians of the constitution. Complete politicization of civil services. You can see also recently in Uttar Pradesh, some of these police officers taking retirement and joining BJP immediately to contest elections. That is what we say. We can question their non-partisan behavior when they were in service. That is where we say the problem is. So that is the reason why we say that they are indispensable to make successful civil servants. They are indispensable. You cannot, compromise with either impartiality or non-partisanship. That is the reason why when we start compromising, what we have is only this. What we have is only this constitutional formalism. That is what we say. So this is what you have to write for this question. If you have any doubt, you can ask. Otherwise, I can move on to the next question. Shall I proceed to the next question? Right? Okay. Let me proceed to the next question. So you can see it on the screen, the question. An independent and empowered social audit mechanism is an absolute must in every sphere of public service, including judiciary, to ensure performance, accountability, and ethical conduct. Elaborate. Again, those who have studied public administration, right? They know all these things. An independent and empowered social audit. Two things are important here. One is independent, second, empowered social audit. It is an absolute must in every sphere of public service, including judiciary, to ensure performance, accountability, and ethical conduct. The statement is self-explanatory in nature. You can see that it is self-explanatory. What is that one? Why it is necessary? How do you start your answer with? You start your answer by saying that the three organs of the state, that is legislature, executive, and judicial, these three organs of the state, they have come into existence to serve the citizens. They have come into existence to fulfill the demands and desires of the citizens. They are given powers by the constitution to perform this function of a welfare maximization. This is where one of the important thinkers comes into picture, right? Wherein he said that the natural tendency of any society is to move towards this anarchy, and we have to prevent this entropy. That is the reason why people have come together and created an institution called government. We have these three organs of the state. Now, over a period of time, what happened? This state itself had become a leviathan, right? The state had become a leviathan. What is this leviathan? The Greek monster, which has the ability to eat its own creation. In the same manner, these organs of the state that had come into existence to serve the people had become so big that they started causing harm to the citizens only. Whatever the powers that they have, they are using all those powers not to work for the people, not to maximize welfare of people, not to empower those people, but to take away their happiness, take away their independence, take away their freedom, take away their self-esteem. All three organs of the state are looking at people only as subjects to be governed. And that is the reason why we need social audit. Social audit, as the name itself indicates, is auditing done by the society, the stakeholders, by the beneficiaries, by the people themselves. For example, a district collector's performance should be audited by the stakeholders. A district collector is responsible for implementing the schemes of central and state governments. And the beneficiary must audit his performance to see whether they are able to receive the benefits or not. Similarly, these politicians' performance should be evaluated. In the same manner, the performance of judiciary should be also be evaluated. The basic problem here is that our constitutional forefathers have given huge amount of powers to judiciary along with the complete independence to them, because they felt that this autonomy of judiciary is very essential to ensure its independent performance, because it was given the responsibility of ensuring constitutionalism, promoting the fundamental rights of the citizens, from exploitation by other organs of the state. But over a period of time, what we have witnessed is completely radically opposite. Those who are part of judiciary are spending their time only in protecting and promoting their privileges. They are using their extraordinary discretionary powers for their own benefit rather than working for the people. As you know, our judiciary functions the least number of days. Economic survey, last year's economic survey pointed out that they function less than 150 days in a year. There is no accountability. The cases pending with the judiciary take long periods of time. 45 million cases are pending with our judiciary at all levels. And it will take them at least 300 years to come out with judgments in all those cases. Where is accountability? There is no one to evaluate their performance. There is no accountability. And the judges are more interested in protecting their so-called privileges. What we call the colonial attitudes, colonial behaviors of our judiciary. We still continue with these what we call summer holidays for our judges. It was a colonial practice during the British times, when the British judges could not tolerate the extreme heat and humidity in India during summer times. They would go back to London and come back later. Why do we need to continue with all those colonial traditions? And similarly, the judges in India, in our courts, they are still called my lords. One of the former chief justices, he had boycotted a meeting in the middle of a meeting because one of the law students did not call him my lord. This kind of colonial attitude. Why? Because they think that they are the masters and they should be treating everyone as their subjects. This is where we talk about ethical conduct. They never realize that either public services like civil servants or police or or judiciary or political executive, they never consider themselves as what we call servants of people. They always consider themselves as masters, and there is no accountability. Politicians' accountability is there only in at the time of elections. As we know, our elections are always poisoned by these non-issues like religion and caste. So politicians get away with literally murder at the time of elections also. They don't have to perform. And there is no accountability after elections. In the name of parliamentary democracy, what we have is only electoral dictatorship. That is the reason why we need social audit regularly. Let the people who are supposed to be the beneficiaries of these three organs of the state, let them come together and evaluate the performance of these organs of the state. Let them fix accountability. let, right, right, exactly, Abhishek. That is where we talk about judicial reforms. Why should Supreme Court deal with all those things? Why should Supreme Court deal with all those things? Let the Supreme Court be a constitutional court only. Let there be another court of appeal wherein they can deal with all these sundry cases. Right, Abhishek? That is where you talk about improving the performance, implementing reforms. Let the Supreme Court be only a court of constitutional appeals and nothing else. Why should Supreme Court look into whether water is coming out of your taps or not? Right? Those cases can be dealt by high courts and other courts. You cannot give that as an excuse for your inefficiency, right? And then who said that we should have only 34 judges, 33 judges in our Supreme Court for a country of 1.4 billion population? Why can't we have four Supreme Court benches in four corners of the country, and in each bench can have 200 judges, so that they can uh, they can deal with all the cases. They don't want any kind of things. Supreme Court has strongly opposed having any benches in other part of the country because they don't want to lose their privilege. Concentration of power at one place. So Abhishek, they are not as innocent as you think, right? So that is what we are saying here. So people don't know these things. Lack of awareness. That's what we say all the time. What is the problem with our democracy? Lack of awareness among the people about their rights. And why this lack of awareness? Because those who are part of the government, they deliberately keep people in dark about whatever that happens within the government, right? They deliberately keep people in dark about what happens within the government. If people come to know, they will make their governments accountable. That is the reason why nobody talks about social audit, right? Once you win elections and come to power with absolute majority, you think that you are God, you have divine powers. You don't even give importance to parliament. Where is the question of social audit? You think that parliament is there only to as a rubber stamp to give approval to all your policies. That is where we need social audit, right from the lowest level to the topmost level. Let the promotion of judges from high courts to Supreme Court, their transfers, their postings, let all these things be decided. Let all these things be decided by social audit, right? Regarding the performance of judges. Social audit. Let the clients, let the people, let the lawyers evaluate the performance of judges, right? Why should performance of judges be evaluated by a committee consisting of 5 senior-most judges at the topmost level? We don't know how they evaluate the performance. Why one judge is transferred and one judge is not transferred? Why one judge is promoted and why one judge is not promoted? We don't know anything. Wherever there is secrecy, there is always scope for corruption and misuse of power. That is the reason why we are talking about social audit. Right? That is the reason why we say that this social audit should be made mandatory for evaluating the performance of political executive, bureaucracy, police, civil services, and judiciary also. Right? This is what you have to write for this question. This is what you have to write for this question. Shall we move on to the next one? Shall we move on to the next question? If you have any doubts, you can ask. Otherwise, I can move on. Yes, Abhishek, that is what we are saying. Our judiciary suffers from colonial legacy. They suffer from colonial legacy. During the British times, the Britishers deliberately introduced these colonial attitudes. Why? Because the top judges are from Europe and England. So they are given exclusive immunities and privileges to differentiate them from ordinary people in the court, the lawyers and everyone. That is the reason why the judges have directed the lawyers that they should be addressed as my lords. I think now it is fine. Now it is fine, I think. Right? It is fine. I can see it is fine. Right? That is the reason why in our judiciary we have this contempt of court. In our judiciary, what we have this contempt of court, which is only exclusively for our judiciary. You say any judgment, you will say contempt of court, they will say, and they will send you to jail. That is where the problem is. And that is where we need ethical conduct of our judges. Right? That is where, Abhishek, we need ethical conduct of our judges. They must believe that they are not the masters. They must shed their colonial attitudes. They must accept that their judgments are not perfect. They must accept that their judgments will invite criticism. They must accept that they can improve also. They must accept that they are not infallible. That is why we need ethical conduct on the part of our judges. Instead of looking for their privileges, immunities, and special powers, they should focus on how to, provide. Now I think it has come back. It is fine, I think. Right. So I think there is problem with my internet. That is where the problem. There is some problem with my internet. Right. So let us move on to the next question. Right. Shall we move on to the next question? Right. Right. Let us move on to the next question. Integrity is a value that empowers the human being. Justify with the suitable illustrations. Integrity is a value that empowers human beings. Justify with the suitable illustrations. So what are we saying here? Right? Why integrity is a value that empowers human beings? So what we have to look at here is that what is this integrity and why it empowers human beings? That is what we have to answer theoretically and then give explanation to it with examples. What do we say about integrity? We say integrity means our ability to sacrifice self-interest for the sake of the organization, for the sake of the community, for the sake of the society, putting the organization our self-interest, putting our national interest, putting societal interest above our self-interest. That is what we say integrity. Never compromising with the interests of the society or the organization for which you are working. That is what we say integrity. Why it empowers human being? That is what the question says. You have to justify with the suitable examples. What is the reason why it empowers human beings? Right. As we studied in the previous questions, what we have said is that, as we studied in the previous questions, what we said is that human beings are interdependent. That is the truth that we have to accept. Interdependence. We are living in a society, we are interdependent. As ethics teachers, what do they teach us? Ethics teaches that We must sacrifice for the sake of others. Then only society can survive. On the other hand, if all of us are guided by only self-interest, what happens? There is every possibility of this self-interest being transformed into selfish interest. Then we start manipulating people, we start cheating people, we start deceiving people. And what is the outcome? It can result in the collapse of organizations. That is the reason why integrity is necessary. That is the reason why we need integrity. Right? Let us give illustrations here, examples. You are working as an IAS officer, right? You are giving tenders. You are giving tenders. You are taking the decisions related to tenders. The contractor comes and says that I'll give you this much amount of bribe, 2% commission, 3% commission, 5% commission. The value is 100 crores. He will say that I'll give you 2 crores and give me the tender to me. That is when you are compromising with your integrity. That is when you are putting your self-interest above the interest of the government, of all the people also. And the contractor will do, what will he do? He will use cheap material to construct the flyover. Tomorrow, if it collapses, who is responsible? You are responsible. Because your absence of integrity that has resulted in so much of damage to the society. Right? Similarly, you are part of BSF, Border Security Force. You are expected to protect the borders. Suddenly, people from other side of the border come and they will bribe you. You will allow them to come into the country. They will indulge in terror activities. So many people are killed. For example, in 1993, Bombay blast. In 1993, Bombay blast. Hundreds of people died. RDX was smuggled into the country because of corruption in customs department in the Bombay port. The customs officials took a huge amount of bribes and they allowed this RDX to come into the country. Dawood Ibrahim used that RDX and it led to the death of so many people. Absence of financial integrity results in corruption. It can result in collapse of organizations also. It can result in the end of organizations also. And that is the reason why we need integrity. Right? You are a collector, you are a police officer, you are a income tax officer, you are a revenue service officer, you are a politician, whatever it may be, you need integrity. And then only, it can ultimately, empower the human beings. Then only it can result in what we call sustainability of societies for a long period of time. What is the reason why? In spite of having so many, so much of natural resources, so much of manpower, human resources, India is not progressing the way it should be progressing. Why? Because one of the things that we are lacking is integrity. We don't have those honest societies. We don't have integrity. We always try to put our self-interest above societal welfare. We are willing to manipulate the systems and organizations for our own self-interest. A minister who takes bribe, from a contractor is indulging in what we call financial terrorism. Right? That is the reason why this integrity becomes extremely important. Yes, that is what you have to write for this question. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. Otherwise, I can move on to the next. I can move on to the next question. Right? Any doubt? I think we have completed section A. Then we can move on to case studies. Any doubt you can ask. Right. Then let us move on to the case studies. Right. You can see the case study on your screen here. Sunil is a young civil servant. Sunil is a young civil servant and has a reputation for his competence, integrity, dedication, and the relentless pursuit of difficult and onerous jobs. Sunil is a young civil servant, right? Then, considering his profile, he was picked up by his bosses to handle a very challenging and sensitive assignment. Sunil is competent, has integrity, dedication. Where is that question? Abhishek, is that question there? Buddha's teachings. Was it asked this year? I think it was not asked. Abhishek, we are only discussing the question paper, right? Right. Yeah, 2020. Right now we are discussing 2021 paper. Abhishek, I will discuss 2020 paper later. No problem. I'll discuss them later. Okay. Considering his profile, he was picked up by his bosses to handle a very challenging and sensitive assignment. He was posted in a tribal dominated district notorious for illegal sand mining. Sunil was posted in a tribal dominated district. Excavating sand from the river belt and transporting through trucks and selling them in black market was rampant. This illegal sand mining mafia was operating with the support of local functionaries and tribal Muslims, who in turn were being selected, were bribing selected poor tribals and had kept the tribals under fear and intimidation. Sunil, being a sharp and energetic officer, immediately grasped the ground realities and the modus operandi followed by the mafia through their devious and dubious mechanisms. On making inquiry, now it is fine. Okay, now it is fine. So you can see here, uh, this is the case study running into. There is no voice. Can you hear me? Yes, can you hear me? Okay, fine. Right. So, in the name of case study, UPSC is giving essays, right? In the name of case studies. Just because those who prepare these question papers have a lot of free time, those who prepare these question papers have a lot of free time. What do they do? In the name of essays, what they are doing is they are asking, in the name of these ethics case studies, they are asking general essays, right? That is what they are doing. So what is the same, very simple here. What is the case study here? Basically, it is about an honest officer taking on sand mafia and the mafia retaliating. Mafia threatening officer with direct consequences, threatening his wife and old mother, and coming to his office. Exactly, Suniti. There must be word limit for questions also. The question is 5,000 words, and UPSC says that you must write answers only in 250 words. What nonsense is this? Where are ethics, UPSC? Here you can ask UPSC, where are ethics? You are asking questions in 5,000 words, and then you are asking us to write answers in 250 words. It is about ethics paper, and they don't have ethics, right? So this is nothing but the recent movie that had become very popular, wherein mafia, right? Pushpa, you must have seen that movie. But in that movie, the hero was a smuggler. So that is the reason why everyone is a villain there. When the hero is a smuggler, everyone is a villain there. But we cannot write those things in our ethics papers. So Sunil is a hero here. What should he do? What should he do? Right. You heard about it, Suniti. You can watch it also. Right? You can watch it on Amazon Prime. Right? Rather than doing these case studies, you can spend your time better by watching those movies. Right? So what are the options available to Sunil? Right. Abhishek, you need general knowledge. You need general knowledge. Right? Pushpa. The name of the movie is Pushpa. Pushpa Raj. Right? What UPSC is doing is taking the story of movies and giving it as case studies. Story of movies and giving it as case studies. Right? Right? Giving it as case studies. Intellectual bankruptcy on the part of UPSC. Right? Please remember, Nilesh, above God has a lot of free time. When you people have free time, you prepare for a UPSC examination. Right? I don't have to prepare. Right? I don't have to prepare. So let us come back and look at this case study. Right? Let us come back and look at this case study. And Nilesh, at any point of time, it is always better to watch those kind of movies than doing these kind of case studies. Right? You are spending your time in a more productive and efficient manner by watching those movies than doing these case studies. Right? What are the options available to Sunil? What are the options available to Sunil? Right? Identify the different options available to Sunil in attending to this situation. So what are the options? First option is compromise with the mafia. Compromise with the mafia. Right? First option is compromise with the mafia. Second one is fight mafia. What do you mean by that, Sunidhi? I am always serious. I am always serious. Right? Right. So two options are available to Sunil here. And for your information, Sunidhi, the villain character in a played by the person in the film Pushpa, his real name is Sunil. Right? His real name is Sunil. That is how UPSC copies. Right? Sunidhi, when you are taking Amazon subscription, please use our code PKS10. Right? If you are taking Amazon subscription, use our code. Right? Nowadays, nobody is taking admission into Unacademy using our code. So at least you can use our code at least in Amazon subscription. Right? Exactly. At least you can use our code in Amazon subscription. Let Amazon benefit because of me. Right? So what are the options available to Sunil? What are different options available to Sunil? Sunil has two options. Anyway, I don't know all those things. I don't have any of those subscriptions, neither Amazon or Netflix or anything like that. So you do whatever research you can. But wherever you are taking any kind of subscription, use our code PKS10. Any kind of subscription. Right? That is what you have to remember. Exactly, Abhishek. You know, what happens here is that in old Ranagar, you are considered a serious student, preparing only when you stop laughing and you stop smiling. All the time you must be looking at somewhere into the sky and murmur something, right? Then only you are considered serious student. The moment you start smiling and laughing, you are considered non-serious student, right? And that is what we do in our coaching classes also in Old Nagar. We are extremely serious, as if the success of a COP 26 depends only on us, as if in a fight against corona variants only depends on our own seriousness, right? That is what we do. So, so what are the options available to Sunil here? Two options. First one is right. Yes. Even before that also, Sunithi people were wearing masks. That is what you have to remember. Right? Before that also they were wearing masks. Even before Corona also they were wearing masks. That is what we say personality. What is the meaning of the word persona in personality? The mask. Persona means mask. Right? As we said, there are only two options that are available to Sunil. One is making a compromise with the mafia. Second, continue with his fight against mafia. Two things: make a compromise, and second, continue. Right? Then, what are the merits and what are the demerits? Look at the first option. If he makes a compromise with the mafia, the merit is that he can save the lives of his family members and also himself. And the mafia will also be giving him a share in their returns also. It can monetarily benefit him also, right? It can monetarily benefit him also. And what is the demerit? His actions are illegal and unethical, because as a civil servant he must protect the assets of the society, assets of the country, right? As a civil servant he must bring to book all those people who violate the law, who are indulging in uh, in these illegal activities. On the other hand, the second option available to him is on the other hand the second option available to him is take action, continue with his action against mafia, continue with his action against mafia. So what is the merit here? His you know his decision is both legal as well as moral, because what they are doing is completely illegal, right? And what is the demerit here? The demerit here is it can be a threat to his family members as well as his life, because 10 years back one of those officers was killed by mafia, right? He might be losing his own life also, right? That is the demerit. Can he sacrifice his life, you know, to take on this sand mafia? That is what the question says. Under those circumstances, what should he do? Which of those above do you think would be the most appropriate for Sunil to adopt, and why? What should he do? Oh, obviously, what we say here is that what we say here is that he cannot compromise with he cannot compromise with his actions. The first option is ruled out. The first option is ruled out. He must continue to take action. What should he do? Right? What should he do? First and foremost, what he must do is create awareness among the people there about the activities of this sand mafia, because these kind of illegal activities can be countered effectively only by creating awareness among the local population. The first and foremost. Second, he must increase police surveillance, continuous and constant police surveillance. Third, he must include media in this entire whole exercise. Fourth, he must request the government to provide him, you know, and his family members security, because his security is also under threat. He must request the government to provide him his and as well as his family security. Then fifth, he should, he should catch hold of all those criminals, and then make sure that all of them are given strict punishment within the time limit, because strict implementation of rule of law is very important. Next, these illegal innocent tribals are manipulated by this mafia. That is the reason why what he should do is that these tribals are given education, better education and better health and other facilities, so that they do not come under the evil influence of this mafia. Next, he should request the government to come out with a tough legislation banning this sand mafia in the future. And then he should also use these modern methods to ensure better surveillance, drone cameras, to find out who are indulging in this kind of illegal and activities. That is what Sunil has to do. He simply cannot chicken out and say that I am withdrawing. He cannot say that I will request the government to transfer from me from this position. He cannot say that there is a threat to my life, so I will not do. Why should he do all these things? You have to give your explanation also. As Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, if there is a fight between if there is a fight between good and evil, those who remain silent will also be considered a part of evil and they will be punished. That is what he says. So you cannot remain silent to the evil that is taking place in front of your eyes. If you remain silent, they will also be punished for their silence. That is what Krishna says. That is the reason why he said that all those people who were witnesses to the molestation of Draupadi in the full court of Duryodhan, all of them were severely punished in the Mahabharata war. Not even a single person was alive, including Bhishma also. That is the reason why Sunil cannot do that. Courage of conviction, integrity are some of the important qualities a civil servant should always possess. Courage of conviction and integrity. These are the important qualities that a civil servant should always possess. Perseverance, another important quality. These three things are the ones which define the character of a civil servant. Integrity, honesty, courage of conviction, and perseverance. Sunil was showing a lot of courage of conviction by taking on the mafia. What is required on the part of Sunil now is that perseverance. He must continue with his actions so that he will bring to this entire case to its logical end. And what should he do? The solutions that we have provided. That is what Sunil must be doing. That is what he should be doing. And this is the most appropriate option for Sunil. Right? In the long term, to prevent these kind of events, the government should come out with a very strict policy regarding land mining, so that these kind of events should not take place in the long term. So that these kind of events do not take place in the long term. Right? This is what you have to write for this case study. This is what you have to write for this case study. If you have any doubt, you can ask. Otherwise, we can move on. If you have any doubt, you can ask. Any doubt regarding this case study, you can ask. Any doubt, you can ask. Right. I think the time is also up. The time is also up. Tomorrow we will continue with our case studies. Tomorrow we will continue with our case studies. Right? Tomorrow we will continue with them. Till then, take care of yourself.